WGNY Newburgh, WJGK HD2 Newburgh Middletown, WGNY 1220 94.5, News Talk Sports.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to another Sunday edition of Jake's Hot Takes, or should I say, Jake's Indomitable Interviews. I don't know. I'm still coming up with the name. My name is Jake McVey, as usual, and today I am joined by Mr. Kevin Sullivan. Kevin, how are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome today. Thank you so much for inviting me here. This is awesome.
Of course, man. It's going to be a good time. Now, Kevin, why don't you tell the audience real quick why they should be listening to this interview? Give us the resume real quick.
So, I play lacrosse. I play defense, and some stuff that I've achieved over my time playing varsity is 3 consecutive Section 9 championships in 2023, 2024, and 2025. 3-time varsity starter, 2-year captain, junior, senior year. All-section honorable mention as a junior, all-section first team as a senior, and team defensive MVP. And I'm also committed to play D3 lacrosse at Shenandoah University.
So, to put it lightly, you're that guy.
Pretty much, yeah.
And you also do play football, right?
I do,
Tell me
yeah.
a little bit about that.
So I've been playing football since I was about 5 years old. It's just something that I've stuck with. I just really enjoyed the sport over time, and it just kept me in shape, got me to where I am today.
So football's always been kind of like a secondary sport to you?
Right, yeah.
Okay, and what do you think that you learned in your time playing football that applied to your lacrosse career?
So definitely my aggressive play style definitely helped me from my football career into my lacrosse career. It also helped me to stay ready to go all the time, because I think that football is a lot more intense than lacrosse is. So it kind of helped me prepare better for my lacrosse career from my football career.
Right, and if you could go back through your football career and change something, what would you change?
Honestly, I don't really think I'd change anything. I had such a positive experience all the way through youth to modified JV, varsity. It was just awesome. I loved it. Playing for Monroe Woodbury, it was an awesome experience. I wouldn't change anything.
Hey, living with no regrets, my man. That's
Yeah.
how you got to do it, right? All right, now let's get into the nitty-gritty. Let's talk some lacrosse here, all right? That's what we're here to do. So who inspired you to first start playing lacrosse? Who or what?
Yeah, so I had 2 best friends that played lacrosse, and it was also my dad not wanting me to play baseball because he thought it was super boring, and I did too. And then I just tried it out, picked up a stick for the first time in 2nd grade, and I just never looked back from there. I loved it.
What was it like getting to, picking up that stick for the first time? Was it something that you felt that you were, was it something that you immediately felt attached to, or did that take time?
To shoot you straight, I don't really remember my first time picking up a stick because I was so young, but honestly, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire life.
It's in the blood, man. It's in the blood.
Yeah.
All right. What was it like? Let's go back as early as you can remember then, in that case. What was it like starting out playing the game? What were some of the things that maybe surprised you?
What surprised me when I was super young is how much time and effort it took to get good. You can't just come into the game expecting to just be a good player like you can in football if you're just naturally athletic. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of time, a lot of effort for you to actually build up your game and get to where you want to be.
And what were some of the skills that you found that you struggled with early in your development?
So stuff that I struggled with was being a bigger guy, being a bigger player myself. One of the strategies that you have to play with is your aggressive behavior. And that's something that I definitely struggled with. And I remember a story. I was playing in a game, and a kid was about to shoot on my goalie, and I went to slide to him, and then I just stopped. And he ended up scoring. And I do this thing where every time someone scores on my goalie, I always look straight to my dad just to see if he has anything to say. And he's just blankly staring at me. And I know what he's going to say because we both know he says it all the time. And he says, slide through the body, be aggressive. You got to play aggressive to have success.
So you say that you had to develop that aggressive mentality because you were a bigger guy. Is there some kind of inherent disadvantage to the bigger guys playing lacrosse?
Obviously, the foot speed and agility part is definitely hindering your lacrosse, but you just have to learn to play with your aggressiveness, and I definitely learned how to do that, and it definitely has helped me throughout my career.
So you can use that inherent physicality that you have as a big guy to compensate some of the speed that some of those smaller guys have.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. Now let's go back to your dad, because you said that you know every time you messed up something, you look straight to your dad. What kind of role did your dad play in your development as a lacrosse player?
So he really did a lot for me. Really excelled my career. I don't think I would be the same player I am without him. He's taught me so much throughout the years. I remember he has sent all throughout my youth career. He's just, if you look through our messages on iMessage, he just constantly sends me videos, links of lacrosse stuff to get better at, and just having a dad like him, it really helped my experience.
That's great, man. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, how was it like when you first started getting into the varsity side of things?
So I was definitely a more nervous kid when I was younger, and playing varsity as a sophomore was definitely a stressful situation. But knowing that I was able to hold my own against some of the best players in the section, knowing that I'm 2 years younger than them, kind of gave me that self-confidence to know oh, I can definitely do this.
What were some of the major hurdles? What was it about these older guys that made you feel so outmatched initially?
Just their overall strength, speed. They have more experience than me, but I don't think it mattered at that time.
And what was it about your play style that allowed you to keep up with these guys?
I think that I brought something to the table that not a lot of lacrosse players can, which is my size and my aggressiveness, which definitely threw a wrench in their plans. And for a bigger guy, I would like to say I'm kind of fast. So I feel like it's kind of unexpected, and I'm able to hold my own hold my own against them.
And how does a guy of your stature and your physicality, how can you disrupt a game? What impact does it really have in a game sense? You can talk a little technical with me, but just make sure if you use any jargony type words, just make sure you clarify so the audience knows.
Yeah. So what really helps my game is my slides, which a slide is when a guy is about to take a shot, you run to him and you basically pick up that guy so he doesn't shoot. And I like to set the tone really early. I like to make big hits, big plays, so that when they think they're about to shoot and they see me running at them, they're gonna take a step back and not make that decision again.
Now, did that kind of physicality ever cause problems between you and opposing players, or even between teammates?
Games have definitely gotten chirpy. I've laid some big hits, a little late on some of them, but I honestly my dad has told me all throughout the years that he won't care if I take a penalty from a big hit like that, just to set the tone so that they think twice about running through my crease, which the crease is the closest part right above the goal.
Right. And how do you like to handle that situation if a guy is starting to get a little chirpy, maybe getting a little chippy? Do you tend to escalate that, or do you tend to back off? How do you handle that?
No, I'm usually a guy who, if you're talking to me, I won't say anything. I'll let you make the mistake of maybe throwing a punch. I won't say anything. I'll let you play your style. If you want to talk dirty, you do that. That won't be me. I'll tell you how I play by my actual play.
Yeah, they got that saying in football, man. The refs always throw the flag on the guy that swings second.
Right,
they never catch the guy that swings first. So you know what? That's high IQ play right there. That's high IQ play. Did you ever face any sort of injuries throughout your varsity career? And if so, what was that like?
I can't really say I've dealt with a huge injury. It's just minor stuff like sprained ankles, fingers, hands, stuff like that. But it definitely is not fun dealing with those in season, playing through them. But our training staff at Monroe Woodbury is definitely is really good, so they've helped a lot through that.
And it is pretty impressive that you managed to get through such a long varsity career in such a physical sport without taking any sort of major injury like that. Did you take any specific steps to try and prevent injury, or was that something that just kind of came naturally?
I mean, it kind of just comes naturally, but I've definitely taken stuff I stretch often. I go to other trainings that will help my body develop in a way that I don't get injured while I play.
Right. And what were some of the developments that you noticed? Because let me clarify this. From sophomore year to senior year, your body goes through a lot of development. So did you notice any kind of specific development, the way that swimmers develop very strong lat muscles to help them push through the water and stuff like that? Does lacrosse have any kind of muscles like that where it's like, yeah, this guy has that muscle big because he plays lacrosse?
Not really, but something that happened to me is earlier in my lacrosse career, I had really bad knees. So I would wear like knee braces and stuff like that to kind of help me get through that. But yeah, I can't really say that there's like one part of your body that like, that kid plays lacrosse.
Yeah, like runner's calves or
Right,
swimmer's lats
yeah.
or anything like that. Take me through a typical in-season week for you during the lacrosse season. What does that look like?
Yeah, so a typical week would be around 4 practices, 2 games a week. Practices we like to keep our stuff fun and competitive just so we can keep up our like team bond and team chemistry. So when we go into those games, we're having fun on the field and we're able to have success.
And how do you facilitate that kind of fun?
So with our energy at practice, like we're not afraid to like trash talk like our teammates. Like we want to keep that energy up so our level of play stays up.
Right, but you mentioned the trash talking and stuff like that. How in a practice environment, how do you prevent that from getting out of control?
So you just have to realize when you kind of have to do it in like levels. So you can't just like go all out on one player. Like you kind of have to spread it evenly. So like you get them annoyed, so they start playing better, and it just creates better competition. So you're improving your game while they're improving their game.
Right. And what kind of role did player leadership take in your, continued success over the section?
So it's really important. Like it's huge in the sport. You need to have guys that'll step up for the team, and they're great for team morale. And those guys really hold themselves accountable and set a really high bar for everyone else to reach.
Right. And you said that you were a 2-time team captain, junior and senior captain for the lacrosse team. How did you find yourself in that position?
So naturally, I just find myself becoming a leader, standing out, like not like demanding guys what to do, but like if a guy is lost or needs help, I step out and help them. So I think that has really excelled my ability to become a captain, because it's not all just leadership. It's all little stuff like in the locker room and doing other stuff, but yeah, stuff like that I think I've definitely excelled in, which helped me become a captain.
What are some of the things that you found oftentimes that guys on your team were struggling with?
So either just like something that in their game that they weren't really good at or needed help in, I could kind of step in and say, hey, maybe you should try this or try it a different way like this. And it worked, and then they'd find success in their game too.
Right, yeah. What do you think you are the best at in lacrosse?
So now, I know I said before that I wasn't very aggressive, but I would say now that is one of my best attributes in my game. And also my passing is, I feel like I've really stepped up in that, because I remember going to the field with my brother and my dad, and we would just have a catch, and I could not pass, like early stages. And there was one thing I was doing wrong, and I remember my dad coming up to me and saying, hey, you're doing this every time you throw. Try to keep your arms out more because you're bringing them in. Keep your arms out more when you throw. And then since that day, he's really improved my game on that.
So aside from the positioning of your arms, what else goes into a great lacrosse pass?
So it's a lot in your hips and your legs. You can't just stand flat-footed when you throw. You got to take that step, kind of like a quarterback does when they follow through on their pass. Same kind of mechanic there.
And speaking, going back to football a little bit, is there any mechanics that you learned in football or lacrosse that you managed to apply in the other sport?
Yeah, definitely. Being an offensive lineman in football has really helped kind of my positioning in defense, like watching the player's hips, seeing which way he might cut or go, and matching him, because defense in lacrosse, you just want to match their hips, and that's kind of the same thing with football. Like if a defensive end is rushing me and he's trying to put a move on me, I want to follow his hips and I want to follow him where he's going. It's the same thing in lacrosse.
So you're almost like a defensive back, but you're really large and you can just like lay a boom and hit somebody.
Almost,
You're like it's
yeah.
like a combination between all the guys on the field defensively. Now, what kind of were you a captain of your football team when you played there?
I was not.
Okay. Do you still feel that you took a leadership role on the football team despite not, necessarily being a captain, or was that a position that you were more content to be a little more hands-off in?
100%. I think it just comes naturally in my blood that I have to step up and become a leader. And even though I don't have the name of being a captain, I still was able to help out my teammates just like I was in lacrosse.
Hey man, that's really good. That's really good. All right. When we get back, we will be continuing our interview with Kevin Sullivan. Make sure you stick around. You're not going to want to miss it. Right here on Jake's Hot Takes, only on WGNY 1220 94.5 News Talk Sports. We'll be right back after this.
Thinking about remodeling your kitchen or bath? Wayne's Way Wholesale Cabinets has a great selection of all wood cabinets in the styles and colors to make your remodeling dreams come to life. Go to wayneswaycabinets.com for more info. Wayne's Way Cabinets, 1829 South Road, Wappingers Falls. Call 845-280-0880. Stop by and talk to Wayne today. You'll be glad you did.
Your life relies on power all day, every day. With spring upon us, weather-related storms and power outages disrupt your home life, work life, and more. Don't be left in the dark. Call Essential Power Systems, your local Generac automatic standby power dealer, protecting your family, home, and business. Already have a Generac? Ask about maintenance, monitors, and cold weather kits before winter. Call Mike the Generator Guy for a free estimate at 845-227-0514. Online at EssentialPowersGenerators.com. Never be powerless. Get Generacted by Essential Power Systems.
Michael's Appliances presents Ask Andy, the appliance expert. Andy, what's the average amount of time for clothes to dry?
We've had customers call us up and they're timing their dryer, drying one shirt, and they can't understand why it takes an hour and a half for that one shirt to dry. If you're using an auto dry cycle, the sensors are never being touched by that one article of clothing. So consequently, it takes forever for the dryer to realize that things are done. Today, newer dryers, generally speaking, it's an hour, 70, 80, 90 minutes. It's not because we're burning tons of fuel. It's because we're using much less. Much lower temperature in the dryer overall, longer tumbling action. That helps to prevent wrinkles, and people are used to a 20-minute cycle drying. Those days are over. We used to make it very hot in the dryer and dry them very quickly. And of course, people have forgotten that then their clothes fit a Cabbage Patch doll when that happens.
Shop with the experts. Nobody knows appliances like Michael's Appliance Center, 585 East Main Street, Middletown. Online at michaelsappliance.com.
Your engine is a delicate instrument. But if you don't change the oil on a regular basis, things have a tendency to go wrong. That's why this news should be music to your ears. Because now at the Newburgh Auto Spa, you can get a free car wash with every oil change. That's right, a free car wash with every oil change.
Really?
Really. Stop into their state-of-the-art facility today and find out what quality maintenance is all about. We all need to get oil changes, so why not get a free car wash to go along with it? And while you're at it, take advantage of their 15-point vehicle inspection free of charge. That should leave you on a very happy note. Newburgh Auto Spa, located at 86 Route 17K in Newburgh. For more information, call 845-567-0009, 845-567-0009, or go online to NewburghAutospa.com. That's NewburghAutospa.com. Newburgh Auto Spa. Quick, convenient, clean.
Welcome back, sports fans. It's Jake's intrepid interviews. I don't know. Still working on the name. Let's get back to you, Kevin. Joined here today by Kevin Sullivan, of course. Tell me about your most recent section championship run. Set the scene for us.
Yeah, so that day we were set to play Valley Central, and it was horrible out that day. It was raining from the entire time we walked off the bus to the time the game ended. And previously, 10 days before, we had just beaten them 18-6. Mm-hmm. And if you play sports, you know that a huge game gap like that is never good.
Yeah.
So for the first half, I will admit, our defense did not play well. We were just not connected. We were slow. and we couldn't figure out how to stop them. They were just scoring at will on us. So quick shout out to our offense because they really kept us in this game. So the halftime score was 12-8. And I remember at halftime, I went up to my dad because he was my coach during this year. And I remember telling him that like they're exploiting our one weakness, which is speed, because our defense was very heavy to say the least. And he responded, no, they're not. And he pinpointed everything that they were doing, and he explained exactly and gave us a plan to how to stop it. So I think that's a really big point, is it's not just the team and the players that make the team successful. It also involves good coaches.
Right, yeah, and just beyond that, like you said that your defense was out of sync in the beginning of the game. What does that kind of look like? Like what causes a defense to be out of sync early in a game?
Yeah, so our communication was just not on par. Like we were not talking at all. We noticed stuff that was happening, and a big part of team defense is communication, and you have to be talking. And we just were not, and they were just scoring at will on us.
How do you use communication to command a defense?
So usually you have like one guy that calls out everything, but it's got to come from everyone because everyone has to be on the same page for your team defense to be successful.
Right. That makes sense. So how did you improve that communication going into the second half of that section championship game?
So after we had our plan of attack on them, after we figured out what they were doing, we just realized that they were doing this one simple thing, and we were able to communicate through that and hatch our plan into success for us.
And what did that plan kind of look like? You can get into some of the technicals here.
Yeah, so the alley, which is like the side of the goal on the field, they would just run down that alley, the guy with the ball, and a guy that was standing down there would kind of just clear through, go all the way across, and the guy coming down would just take a shot, and he was open because our guys were not the fastest, so they would have a step on them and able to take that shot. But our plan was when that guy cleared through, we were able to keep that guy there, and that guy would be now hot, which hot means that you're the guy that's sliding to the guy that just got beat. Mm-hmm. And that would cause a double team, and then they'd have to like roll off, or that shot wasn't open, so they'd have to start doing something else.
Now, is that a strategy that explicitly came from your coach, or was that a strategy that you as the players kind of develop and understand together?
So kind of funny story is when I was a sophomore, we were playing Kingston in the section championship, and they were doing the exact same thing to us. And again, it came from the coaches that realized what they were doing, and it really worked. So I think that time it was from the coaches. The coaches realized it because the players, there's so much stuff going on during the game that you can't really realize it. But this time it was kind of a joint effort. We kind of both noticed it, the coaches and the players, so we were both able to team up and come to that plan.
Right, and how did the game end? I mean, I'm on the edge of my seat right now.
Yeah, so the final score was 22-10, so you could definitely tell that our plan worked. And another thing about the game that I thought was pretty cool was at halftime. I remember my girlfriend telling me after the game, at halftime she was talking to my mom in the stands, and my mom's exact words were, they're not scoring more than 10 this game or in the second half. And based on the halftime score that was 12-8, scoring 2 goals in one half is really hard to prevent. Like only allowing them 2 goals is almost impossible. And her confidence in us and our ability to play kind of just carried us through. Like she didn't even have to tell us anything, but her confidence and everyone in the stands' confidence about us and knowing that what we're able to bring to the table really, really helped us.
Do you think your mom might have some kind of a precognition, the ability to tell the future maybe?
Maybe. I think so.
No, of course. Shout out Mama Sullivan. She knows exactly what's going on.
Exactly.
What were some of the feelings that came with, that three-peat?
Oh, man. The feeling is incomparable to anything I've ever experienced. Like, it's just the best feeling in the world. Like, the rush of emotion and euphoria that comes over you when that happens is just, it's unexplainable. Like, being able to cherish that moment with the boys and having fun with them during the game, like, it's the best feeling in the world.
Now, I know that championships fatigue is something that can actually come across very successful sports programs across all levels. Do you feel that you were a victim of that? Like, was the first win more or less satisfying than the third win?
Yeah, I would say the first two were more satisfying just because I think they were better games. But definitely the first half of this game was just the same feeling as the first two, because the second half we just dominated them. But that did feel good.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys did have an incredibly dominant season, beating opponents by very wide margins. Was there any sort of team adversity in that final season that you played out that made you think like, oh, this might end up coming back to bite us later in the season?
Yeah, 100%. We lost a game to North Rockland earlier in the season, 9-8, and it was just heartbreaking. Like, it was one call that caused the game to shift in their favor, and they ended up winning, and it was just horrible for us. Like, we were down on ourselves, but coming back from that, I think that really made us stronger and able to have success later in the season.
Right, and what kind of lesson do you learn from a situation like that?
You learn that, like, you just got to play the game. Like, it just goes on. You can't live in the past and think about all the stuff that you could have done. You just have to move on to the future and notice what you can improve on and improve on those things.
Right. So aside from the ability to, self-reflect and improve, what do you think is the trait that makes a lacrosse player the most successful they can be? Like, if you had to narrow it down to one trait other than self-reflection, because I think self-reflection across all sports is the most important trait that an athlete can have. Other than that, for lacrosse specifically, what's the best trait that a guy can have? The
best trait is definitely like a good work ethic, something like that, because I don't think people realize how much effort and time it really takes to get good at lacrosse. Like I said before, you can't just pick up a stick and immediately be good at it. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of work to actually become good and play at a high level.
And what's your favorite thing about the practice regimen that you have set up for yourself right now?
Honestly, it's I just love going through every time, like I train or I practice. I just love the experience that I get throughout all of that. And definitely what's important in the lacrosse regimen is recovery. Sometimes you have games that are multiple days a week or back-to-back days, and you got to make sure you're taking care of your body to have yourself play at that high level for the entirety of the season.
Definitely get the ice pack and the Pedialyte, man. That was my go-to for anything I needed. So you said that you have committed to play lacrosse for Shenandoah, right?
Yep.
How did that process look like, the scouting process? How did that go?
So honestly, I had a really late start to the whole process. So it seemed like when I started, a lot of spots were already filled up. But I really feel like this is the spot for me. Like I can really see myself having success at Shenandoah, and I'm really appreciative for all the opportunities they're giving me.
What is something in the way of like team culture that you see that makes you think like, yeah, this is my spot. This is where I'm going to feel at home?
I just feel like I can connect a lot to the guys that I've met when I was there. I was able to watch one of their practices, and I loved everything I saw. I think their practices were really similar to what I did in high school, and I think that's a place where I can be successful in my career.
You said that the college practices and the high school practices were fairly similar. What are some of the differences that you saw between that college and that high school level?
So at college, it's definitely more intense, which I do like. At high school, you kind of have those guys that are just there to be there. In college, everyone's 100% locked in on practice. They're there to play. So.
Right, yeah. And what are you individually hoping to achieve in your time at Shenandoah?
I'm personally hoping to contribute whenever I can. If that contribution becomes when I'm a sophomore or a junior, that's fine. I'm just there to help out whatever I can. But my goal is to play all 4 years if I can.
And what are you hoping to accomplish as a team?
I'm looking to kind of improve the team standard. So I think I can really bring something to the table where we could play at a higher level and compete with the higher teams in the division.
All right. I like that. I like that mentality, man. It seems like you got a good hold on what you want.
Yeah.
And what you can do for this organization. Let's get into a bit of general lacrosse talk, because lacrosse is a sport that is, dramatically on the up and up. The PLL is more popular than it's ever been. You got professional lacrosse organizations springing up all over the place. Where do you foresee the future of the sport going? Do you think it can get to that like mainstay Big Four American sports?
I really think it can. I just think that people don't realize how fun the sport actually is. Like watching a lacrosse game, it's better than watching any other sport. Like it's so fast, it's so high level that like it's just awesome and I wish people would realize how fun it is to watch and give it a try.
Yeah. And speaking of, what would you say to a young athlete who wants to try lacrosse but feels intimidated by, the whole situation?
I would say 100% do it. Yes, it'll take a lot of practice to get good at, but it is so worth it. Like the bonds that you'll build over time with your teammates, it's unexplainable to like anything else you'd ever experience.
Ah, man, that's great. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for coming on to Jake's awesome interviews today. And when we get back, I'm going to be talking some national sports, so you're going to want to stick around for that. But Kevin, thank you for your time. I do appreciate you coming out today. I have been Jake McVey. This has been Kevin Sullivan. This has been Jake's awesome interviews. Like I said, stay tuned. We're talking national sports when we get back. Jake's Hot Takes, WGNY, 1220, 94.5, News Talk Sports.
Hello, I'm Mark Guido. Thank you for making Frank Guido's Little Italy the #1 location for all of your special occasions. From an intimate family gathering to a festive affair for up to 100 guests, Little Italy is the place to go. We are experienced, professional, and affordable. Whether it's birthdays, anniversaries, reunions, retirements, rehearsal dinners, and even after funeral gatherings, Little Italy has the perfect size space with delicious food at a reasonable price. You enjoy your event and let us do all the work. Call Marie at 845-340-1682 or visit us online at frankguidoslittleitaly.com. Call Marie at 845-340-1682 or visit us online at frankguidoslittleitaly.com. Little Italy has the perfect size space with delicious food at a reasonable price. You will be glad you did. And remember, as always, come celebrate on the day of your birthday and get up to a $25 value on us.
Michael's Appliances presents Ask Andy, the appliance expert. Andy, is it bad to use fabric softener sheets?
More often than not, a fabric softener sheet helps keep the static down in your dryer. In most newer dryers, the lint screen is so fine that the oils in the fabric softener sheet actually plug up your lint screen. Reduces efficiency, causes overheating, causes the machine to kick off on high limit. So sometimes what you really want to do is not use dryer sheets. Use the same dryer sheet 2 or 3 times. Fabric softener in the washer is the better way to go. Most people don't realize that all the lint in your dryer actually comes from your washing machine. It's the agitating action that causes a problem where the clothing is scrubbing together and you end up with all the little pilling. And a fabric softener actually will help lessen the pilling if it's in the washing machine.
Shop with the experts. Nobody knows appliances like Michael's Appliance Center, 585 East Main Street, Middletown. Online at michaelsappliance.com.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome back to your regularly scheduled Jake's Hot Takes. Now, it has been a great time interviewing Mr. Kevin Sullivan, but it's time to get back to what we've been doing recently. And, of course, I'm talking about the NBA Finals. Now, you might be asking yourself, Jake, why are you wearing a different shirt than you were in the interview with Kevin Sullivan? And the answer to that is Why are you asking me these questions? We're talking about the NBA Finals here. The question you should be asking is, how did the Pacers come away with Game 6? The answer is devil magic, of course. This Pacers team has just continued to astound and stun. You know, we heard reports that Halliburton was going to be injured. We heard reports that, you know, he might not play the rest of the series. All of a sudden, you know, that devil magic kicks in and the Pacers are back, and they laid the beat down on those Oklahoma City Thunder. Let's get into it. From the Pacers side of things, this was an absolutely dominant defensive performance out of pretty much all of them. All 5 of the main starters, as well as guys like Obi Toppin and TJ McConnell, were contributing in a major way to this team's defense. I mean, OKC just looked completely smothered. OKC started out, you know, getting on a roll. They got to a big lead early, and then the Pacers just decide, well, I say a big lead, an 8-point lead. All of a sudden, the Pacers just decide to lock in, and boom, just like that 8-point lead is flipped on its head. 8-point Thunder lead, boom, 22-point Pacer lead, and the Pacers basically didn't look back. OKC just looked like, it looked like Indiana went and kicked their puppy. That's what it looked like, and I hate to admit it, but that's what it looked like. Let's get into some top performers from the day. Tyrese Halliburton, you know, despite the alleged injury, comes back in full force. 14 points on 5 of 12 shooting from the field, 3 for 7. But honestly, his offense was not what impressed me. It was his defense. He came in big. A lot of plays, just kind of being a nuisance. He got a couple turnovers, a few steals. Just kind of forcing Oklahoma City to really stay on their toes. And of course, that crazy pass that led to that Siakam dunk. And let's talk about Pascal Siakam while we got him here. 16 points on 6 of 14 shooting, 1 for 3 from the field with 13 rebounds to boot. This was not your average Pascal Siakam game. I know I throw around the phrase average Pascal Siakam performance quite a bit, but this one was different. Siakam was getting angry. You could see it on his face. He was playing some bully ball down low, really just kind of throwing his weight around and making sure that these OKC defenders were feeling him on every single possession. It explains the kind of lack of three-point shooting, kind of that we saw across the board, barring a few guys. Andrew Nembhard had a good three-point shooting performance, as well as Obi Toppin. But you know, Siakam was not playing his usual, you know, get to the mid-range, catch a pass, post up, jump shot, swish. He was handling the ball. He was getting down low. And like I said, he was playing with some anger, a little, you know what I mean? So I was kind of surprised to see that. But then again, I wasn't all that surprised. You know, I'm sure you saw that video pregame of the Pacers all huddled up and Siakam picks his head up and his eyes are rolled into the back of his head. I mean, the dude was basically breathing fire after he dunked on J-Dub, I believe it was. So Siakam had himself a game, not necessarily in the absurd offensive production department, but more so in the fact that he made big plays when it mattered. He showed a style of basketball that we haven't really seen lead to productive moments out of Siakam, and his defense was absolutely on point. You know, if I'm talking about a Pacers player, it should just be by default they had really good defense. I'm still going to talk about it because, you know, it's different kinds of defense, but all of the Pacers that got substantial minutes had really great defensive performances, which leads me to Aaron Nesmith. You know, this was a standard Aaron Nesmith performance. Phenomenal defense, inconsistent on the shooting side, but put down a couple threes when you needed them. And that's really just who Aaron Nesmith is, and he's fit that role incredibly well for that team. He gets the energy going. He's a little angsty. He's a little, you know, usually Halliburton and Siakam are the two guys that I consider to be the leaders of this team, but they don't necessarily play with that sort of rage deep down in their heart and in their soul, you know. Nesmith, he plays with some rage. Same thing with Andrew Nembhard, who had a surprisingly productive offensive night. He finishes the day with 17 points, 5 of 7 shooting from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and 4 assists to boot. Now, of course, Andrew Nembhard is most valuable in an on-ball defensive role. I mean, he was given Shea and he was given J-Dub. He was giving them all a work. He was making those boys work for every single bucket. And aside from Shea, the Thunder really had no answer for him. When he got up in the face of whoever was holding the ball, there was basically no chance. I mean, Nembhard is just... He has such great leverage, and he utilizes his body in such an effective way where he gets right up in your guy's grill and he locks out his hips to prevent that movement. You know, we saw that a lot with Brunson, where Brunson is a guy with a very low center of gravity. He's able to, use his shoulders, get up on a guy a little bit, be physical, and make some space. Nembhard just doesn't give up space like that. And that's really the problem. He doesn't give you an inch of space. And if you try and take a step backwards to, give yourself a little more room, he's going to close that distance. And boom, now you've just made it even more difficult to get around him because you're just consistently pushing yourself backwards. And we saw that a couple times with guys like Caruso, and we saw that a couple times with guys like J-Dub. Nembhard is really just an invaluable defensive piece. I would say, to make another Knicks comparison, a guy like Mikal Bridges, he's incredibly talented defensively, but he doesn't have that same ability to anchor down and control that space like Andrew Nembhard does. And that just it's such a valuable role to have on a defense. Just a guy that truly is rock solid in his defensive positioning, unmoving unless he decides to move. So you know what? It came up big, and he's come up big throughout the series. And the fact that he was able to throw, 5 shots and 3 3-pointers on that, I'm sure that's an ideal Andrew Nembhard performance, and probably one of the best performances we've seen from him all playoffs. Now I want to talk about the bench a little bit. Obi Toppin finishes the day with 20 points, 6 for 12 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, 6 rebounds to boot on 23 minutes. Why wasn't he playing like that when he was on the Knicks? The answer is Tom Thibodeau, but we're not going to get into that conversation right now. Anyway, Obi came up big in a major way. He kind of is that downhill, run and dunk on your face, or run and, get a tough layup package going. He's that downhill player that Indiana was severely lacking, or I should say kind of failed to utilize to his fullest extent pretty much until the New York series. Toppin just fits an archetype that Miles Turner or Pascal Siakam don't really fit themselves. So he occupies an incredibly valuable role by bringing a lot of variance in the styles that you can see out of these big guys, Siakam is absolutely just a point and shoot kind of power forward, not really the type to ball handle, unless we're talking about game 6. Same kind of sitch with Miles Turner. He's a much more defensive archetype, but he's also, got that threat of that 3-point shot. So he brings a lot of interesting things, but both of those guys aren't really renowned for their ability to attack the rim, and Obi Toppin absolutely is, and he made it abundantly clear why that archetype is incredibly valuable to this Pacers team. Again, when he was on the court, it just didn't really look like OKC had any answers for him. It didn't seem like, they were willing to have that guy go up and contest that move that Obi Toppin is making. And it led to Obi just giving him absolute bag work for 23 minutes. I mean, the dude was insanely efficient for how long he was on the court. So that's just kind of the absurdity of that whole situation. And finally, of course, you need to talk about TJ McConnell. TJ McConnell finishes the day with 12 points on 6 of 12 shooting. 0 3-point shots attempted, but absolutely one of the biggest defensive nights we've seen from him in one of the most important scenarios. This is a must win for the Pacers, and TJ McConnell came up in a major way, just being a constant menace. He finishes the day with all those offensive stats, as well as 4 steals and 6 assists and 9 rebounds. So he wasn't necessarily the most dangerous scoring threat out there, but he was absolutely getting the dirty work done. And when a guy like TJ McConnell is getting that many rebounds, 9 rebounds, I'm pretty sure aside from Siakam, he had the second highest rebounds on the Pacers team aside from Siakam. And I'm actually checking right now, and Yeah, he had the second highest rebounding number in the game, and this is TJ McConnell we're talking about. I love TJ McConnell, but this guy looks like a substitute math teacher playing against real big, brolic NBA players. And he managed to out-rebound most of the guys on that Thunder team. And that's honestly indicative of the issue with this Thunder team, was just that they did not seem like they came into this game mentally prepared. You know, it's a tough sitch. Maybe, the thought of going to Indiana and playing out that game, that Indiana crowd is rough. So, I can understand a little mental flatness, but you have a chance to win a chip right now. And this team just looked completely unfocused. Let's get into the Oklahoma City Thunder while we're here. Chet Holmgren. Don't even get me started on Chet Holmgren. He finishes the day 4 points, 2 of 9 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3, 6 rebounds to boot. He got out-rebounded by TJ McConnell. I think that says everything that it needs to say. Chet has continuously, aside from, I believe, either game 3 or 4 of this series, has continuously failed to be a dominant offensive force in the same way that we've seen Shea or J-Dub take over a game. And it was disappointing out of Chet. It usually is. It usually is throughout this series. I'm going to talk more about the Thunder when we get back. Make sure you stay tuned. Jake's Hot Takes only on WGNY 1220 94.5 News Talk Sports. We'll be right back after this.
Michael's Appliances presents Ask Andy, the appliance expert. Andy, what makes my oven smell so bad when I self-clean?
Self-clean, my favorite weapon in the world. Self-cleaning is a brutal environment. Most people don't think about it. They hear self-clean. I'm not really sure if they're picturing scrubbing bubbles inside there, scrubbing, but what's really happening is we're heating the oven up hot enough to carbonize protein. We're going to take the food stuff that's left in your stove, and we're actually going to carbonize it. We're going to turn it to dust. So we're 700 degrees. So why does it smell bad? You're setting fire to a chicken. Today, a lot of the new stoves, because of the energy guidelines, there is no real self-clean anymore. They don't want those high temperatures. It's a huge waste of energy. It's very easy. You don't have to get on your hands and knees and your back doesn't hurt. You're not scrubbing the stove, but we use a ton of energy to clean the inside of that stove by heating it up.
Shop with the experts. Nobody knows appliances like Michael's Appliance Center, 585 East Main Street, Middletown. Online at michaelsappliance.com.
Your life relies on power all day, every day. With spring upon us, weather-related storms and power outages disrupt your home life, work life, and more. Don't be left in the dark. Call Essential Power Systems, your local Generac automatic standby power dealer, protecting your family, home, and business. Already have a Generac? Ask about maintenance, monitors, and cold weather kits before winter. Call Mike the Generator Guy for a free estimate at 845-227-0514. Online at EssentialPowersGenerators.com. Never be powerless. Get Generacted by Essential Power Systems. You've long known that Newburgh Auto Spa on Route 17K utilizes top caliber products and the latest technology to give your vehicle the proper maintenance it needs. Whether it be a computerized soft cloth car wash, detailing consisting of a comprehensive bumper-to-bumper cleaning of your entire interior and exterior, or a fuel-efficient oil change from a trained technician, Newburgh Auto Spa is the place to go. Now, Newburgh Auto Spa is a full-service automotive center. That's right, Newburgh Auto Spa now offers tires, brakes, rotors, tune-ups, alternators, and more, all with the same professionalism and quality you've become accustomed to. For a full list of automotive services offered in specials, go to NewburghAutospa.com. Whether you need a basic car wash, a quick oil change, or now more extensive automotive service, Newburgh Auto Spa is the place to go. Newburgh Auto Spa, quick, convenient, clean, located at 86 Route 17K and online at NewburghAutospa.com. Now offering a full range of automotive services. Newburgh Auto Spa, quick, convenient, clean.
Davis Furniture in Poughkeepsie is having a floor model clearance sale, up to 70% off. That's right, Davis Furniture needs to make room for new arrivals and is having a floor model clearance sale with up to 70% off. At Davis Furniture on Route 9 in Poughkeepsie, all their furniture is American-made and chemical-free. You and your family deserve the Davis Furniture difference and a healthier life. DavisFurnitureOnline.com.
Welcome back to Jake's Hot Takes, ladies and gentlemen. When the music came in and so rudely interrupted me, I was just talking about Chet Holmgren. So let me get back to Mr. Chet Holmgren, Mr. Abraham Lincoln brought back in the flesh. Like I said before the break, I'm just recapping here for the folks who weren't here. Chet had a really poor performance. Defensively, he was basically a traffic cone. Offensively, he really couldn't get it going. Pacers did a phenomenal job of closing down his driving lanes. Chet just doesn't have the physicality to really muscle around those guys, especially some of the tougher defenders like Nembhard, Nesmith. Even Siakam was giving him a lot of trouble. So if you're getting pushed around by Siakam and you're getting out rebounded by TJ McConnell, you got a problem on your hands, Mr. Big Man. Let's move on from Chet. Let's get into J-Dub because, man, this is one of the roughest performances that we've seen out of J-Dub in a minute. 16 points on 6 of 13 shooting from the field, 0 for 4 from 3. That boy was a brick from behind the arc. And I think him not being that number 2 guy really negatively impacted this team. I mean, obviously Shea did well. You always expect Shea to do well. But really this Thunder team kind of lives and dies by the supporting cast and the guys that they're able to activate or elevate, you know, when push comes to shove. And the discrepancy between J-Dub's Game 5 performance and J-Dub's Game 6 performance is brutal. He went from being the man, dropping, I think it was 40 points, somewhere in that ballpark. Just an absurd level of play out of J-Dub. And then you transition that into Game 6, where he's completely bricking pretty much every shot he puts up. He finishes the day with 16 points, and he gets bullied defensively so hard. I mean, Siakam had that insane caught pass from Halliburton into the running dunk, and poor J-Dub got put, if the Pacers win this series, got put in like a forever highlight reel. That is a highlight that the Pacers will be using for the rest of their franchise's existence if the Pacers end up coming away and winning this ring, Game 7, in Oklahoma City. Let me just say before I get on to something else, because I want to say this, I'm so excited that this series is going to 7 games. This series has been absolute fireworks throughout the majority of it, barring like a lazy Game 2 and a bit of a lazy Game 6. This series has been absolute fireworks, and I'm so excited that we're getting to see this do or die situation with both of these teams that really have, you know, shown their prowess as the 2 best teams in the NBA right now. I don't really think that's all that debatable. But man, this is exciting. Let's talk about Shea now. So Shea finishes the day with 21 points on 7 of 15 shooting, 0 for 1 from 3, 7 for 8 on the free throws. Shea pretty much did exactly what they needed him to do. He kept it real offensively. That's kind of how I describe it. He didn't take over the game. He didn't have an absurdly high caliber performance. He kept it real. He kept it 100, and he did pretty much exactly what we expect him to do. I mean, shooting a little more than 50% from the field, that's pretty much all you can ask for. The 3-point consistency absolutely wasn't there, but nobody on this no one on this Thunder team seemed to remember how to shoot a 3-point shot throughout this entire game, unless their name is Jalen Williams, and not that Jalen Williams, the other Jalen Williams. So, I mean, Shea just wasn't all that impressive. And defensively, I think the league is finally starting to realize that Shea is a total traffic cone when it comes to on-ball defense. I mean, I feel like I've seen like elderly league players move their feet better than Shea does when he's guarding on ball. If you look at the plus minus scores, which I know is not the end all be all for, you know, a player's performance, but a guy like Shea can have an incredibly efficient shooting performance, 7 of 15 from the field. That's over 50%, and have a negative 17 because every time he was asked to play defense, he would just get completely dunked on. Like, not like physically dunked on, but like Pacers were just doing whatever they wanted out there, and Shea didn't have an answer for it. Lou Dort, offensively, just completely terrible, and defensively did not show that hustle that we usually see out of him. He finishes the day with 3 points on 1 of 5 shooting from the field and 1 of 5 shooting from 3. Usually Dort can kind of be that spark plug guy. You know, you get him going early, and that momentum that he brings can help carry you further into the game. But man, he looked tired, and all of the guys on the court looked tired. And I can't help but feel like the Thunder were not bringing their best effort throughout this game. And I feel like, even though they're going back to Oklahoma City for this Game 7, I can't help but feel like the Pacers have all the momentum in the world right now. I mean, this was a crushing victory for them, and it was a crushing victory where the Pacers didn't even really perform all that spectacularly. It's not like any guy on the Pacers, you're looking at his stat line and you're like, wow, that is an incredible stat line. Other than Obi Toppin, I'll give him his credit where credit is due, because Obi Toppin absolutely performed to that, I would say, a great level. But the rest of the guys on the court, I mean, offensively, it's not like they were shooting lights out the entire time. As a matter of fact, a lot of guys were really inefficient, had really inefficient shooting nights. Aaron Nesmith, Miles Turner, Benedict Mathurin, Ben Shepherd. I mean, a lot of these guys just had really inefficient nights. But Indiana still came away with it anyway because they were just constantly harassing OKC on that defensive side. I mean, OKC had 21 turnovers compared to the Pacers' 11 turnovers. And I think that speaks a lot into the level of mental focus that these teams both came to play with. And now some of the adjustments that I think that these teams should make moving forward is, I know that I said that the Thunder need to get their bench more involved, and they did do a better job of getting their bench more involved. Jalen Williams was one guy that J.A.Y. Williams was one guy that I had said that they should get more involved. He actually did get a little more involvement, 12 minutes, 7 points, 2 of 3 from the field and from 3. But that is just not enough. I think, unfortunately, the truth of the matter is that Indiana does just have the better bench. And I understand that Caruso and Hartenstein are incredibly important to this Pacers team, or Thunder team. Man, I'm getting my names all mixed up. Incredibly important to this Thunder team, and they're incredibly talented bench guys, but the Pacers just have everything they need. They got a muscle man in Obi Toppin. They got an Alex Caruso archetype in TJ McConnell, who, and by the way, McConnell has been playing better than Alex Caruso. So maybe I should be calling Alex Caruso a TJ McConnell archetype, but we're not ready to have that conversation, or at least I'm not. And not to mention guys like Benedict Mathurin coming off the bench, just guys with so much potential to take over a game. And, in each of these games that the Pacers have won, one of those guys has taken over, whether it was Benedict Mathurin or whether it was Obi Toppin or whether it was TJ McConnell. They got game wreckers on the bench, and OKC has great supporting pieces on the bench, but they don't necessarily have any game wreckers. And I think that's really the difference that we're seeing between these two teams. Something that I think the Thunder need to do is, as much as it hurts me to say this, I think they need to limit Chet's involvement when it comes to the ball handling. He has been asked to become this downhill guy, constantly driving to the basket, and it has not worked for him. He's just not a player of that archetype. I think realistically, he's much closer to like a Siakam, except the shooting ability is just significantly worse, although the defensive prowess is significantly higher. But Chet's not the kind of guy that can handle the ball really eloquently and get downhill and go up and make that big play, like a guy like Giannis or even a guy like OG Anunoby, just to throw out a Knicks example. He's not really, or I guess Karl Anthony Towns would be a more apt comparison. He's not really that guy that can come downhill like that. And that is what the Thunder have been asking him to do over and over again. And over again, he gets met by Miles Turner at the rim. He gets met by Obi Toppin at the rim. He gets met by Pascal Siakam at the rim. And if Chet is not able to close that out, then you need to limit Chet's involvement because he is wasting possessions right now. Not to mention, I just feel like in general, the Oklahoma City Thunder were not playing with that tenacity that we saw out of them. And you know what? It does kind of make sense. This is a young team who realistically throughout this entire playoff run has not been pushed to that next level. Indiana absolutely has. I would say New York absolutely pushed Indiana to that next level. Even though they both won their respective series in 6 games, the New York series and the New York and Indiana series was significantly closer with every game. OKC, it was either they won or they didn't. There was pretty much no question throughout the game whether or not they were going to win or lose. You knew by halftime whether or not OKC was coming away with that game or not. When it came to Indiana and New York, every game came down, well, not every game, but most of the games came down to those incredibly close toss-up moments. So I feel like this Pacers team is more battle-tried. You know, they've been forged through the fire more so than Oklahoma City. I'm not saying that Oklahoma City has had an easy path to get here. I mean, obviously, that Denver Nuggets team that they faced off against and that Minnesota Timberwolves team that they faced off against were incredibly talented, and I'm sure either of those teams would be giving the Pacers a lot of work right now. But it just, you know, it feels like this team isn't prepared to, you know, go to that next level. You know, when one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got in sports was that if you want to win, you need to be willing to take your opponent to a place that they're not willing to go. And that advice always kind of stuck with me because it means that you need to be able to push further through that mental fatigue, through that exhaustion, through that emotional exhaustion. I mean, these guys have been playing finals basketball for, you know, like 2 weeks now. And, you know, we're sitting at home and watching it, but these guys are in it, man. They're feeling the physical and mental drain that comes with it. And it just seems like right now, Indiana is more prepared to deal with those long-term effects of playing out a long series. And that's Jake's Hot Takes, ladies and gentlemen. My name has been Jake McVey. Thank you so much for listening to the interview segment and to the national sports segment. Make sure you tune in next Sunday. We're going to have another interview coming in, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And make sure you catch the NBA Finals tonight, Game 7. I have been Jake McVey. This has been WGNY 1220 94.5 News Talk Sports. Jake's Hot Takes. I love you. See you next Sunday.
WGNY Newburgh, WJGK HD2 Newburgh Middletown, WGNY 1220 94.5 News Talk Sports.